So, hello everyone, welcome to the live stream today. I'm just preparing some final steps and today we maybe have again polls, or we have polls. Let me check if I find everything and I can set everything up like I expected. Yes, indeed. The chat is also working. Fantastic. Hey Techno Amaze, great to see you. Does that work now correctly? Hey VTech Bro, great to see you. Just checking if everything works. We can switch the scenes, that's good. So can we set up the polls here? And that works too. Pub.dev, we need that today. We need this. And I think Google APIs. And in the meantime, we can also check Flutter if we have already a new version. It's always my first step today because download time. It's also good. Okay, oh, we have commits that we forgot yesterday. We should push that. Oh no, that was a mistake. Anyway. Okay, slowly we are coming to the beginning of the live stream. So, yes, this video is also for beginners level. I will tell always in the beginning of the video what we are doing and how the stream is working. Maybe it is also a very good idea to begin with. So if you have missed the last 3 live streams that we did this week, we talk about Flutter and create a real Flutter application, or at least we want to create the first MVP in the next couple of days. And the idea is that we work on an application that is a flashcard application where we swipe left and right to accept a card if it is right or wrong. And we will implement a so-called, I forgot about the name again. I'm really bad with that. I should remember that actually. So if we have flashcard, there is an algorithm that we can use in the future. Spaced repetition, the Lightner system it is. It's pretty easy actually. We have 5 boxes and we want to move the cards front and back. And what we are doing at the moment is we are working with Google Docs. And the idea here is that we take the Google Docs. This is another document. Let me check. Here, I think we can move somewhere to the drive here. And the idea is to have a CSV file, or better, a Google Sheet file. And inside of this Google Sheet, we can now add new topics and cards and flashcards that we want to learn. So for example, let's say we want to learn English from a German language. Then we have German and English, and we have Hallo, which means hello. And then we can add more and more to it. So for example, if we have something more in German, we have, for example, car, which is Auto, and in English it's car, or bicycle, and this is Fahrrad. Bicycle. So, and now in our app, we want to take the first thing as our hint and as our correct answer. And then this part should be part of the next card. And this could be, of course, just for German and English, but it could be also for, let's say, learning Flutter. And there we have the same thing. Like, for example, we have the hint and the answer. And stateless widget is the question, and the answer is this. And then I can decide as a user if this is the correct answer or the wrong answer. So about the level of the course, or what we are doing, well, that highly depends. I will try to explain everything. So whatever we do, next steps, which packages we are using, I will try to explain it and give you some hints on how to use it yourself. Also, you can follow nearly everything. By the way, I will also answer during the video all questions. So if you have a question that you would like to get an answer to, just ask me. I will jump into and try to answer it as good as possible. Good. So what did we do the last 3 times? First, we created a basic Flutter construct that I can show you with macOS at the moment, where we read a CSV file and got the data from the CSV file. So the idea, CSV stands for comma separated values, and we had their test data lesson 1. And we were able to create out of this information a flashcard game. Hey Ambrish, nice to see you. So, and the idea is now that we increase that, and besides of taking it from a CSV file that is located locally on the computer, we want to make it possible that we read it from Google Sheets. So this is just the app. So we have the English translation. All of that looks very rudimentary because we don't care so much about the UI at the moment. It's more about the functionality, what we want to achieve. So I can click on the card. With that, I flip it. Now the English translation stands here. Now I can say, okay, I knew that, then it's green, and the next card opens up. And if I answer that, we have by, I didn't knew that. And then it answers with some basic lorem ipsum text. At the moment, it displays the percentage of the correct answers, which is not really calculated, as you can guess. And then we have 2 more buttons. The one here is for starting up again. So we start from new. And the other button is to try to read from the CSV files from Google Sheets. I'm very good. How about yourself? Had a good start in the day. So, and this we know now, so I can click that one and something happens in the background. And the only thing what we are trying is we get an instance of value range at the moment. So this is just a testing button at the moment. I'm not showing the screen. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So I explained a lot, but I didn't share the screen. Thank you. Cool. Technical difficulties. Great stuff. So, but back here. So we had this application, and I can maybe restart a little bit, where we have, oh, I forgot now everything. We started. Okay, but you can see now the screen, I hope. Let me check once more. Yeah, there it is. Great stuff. So this is how good I'm prepared with live streaming already. So, okay, so what we did the first time was reading from a CSV, comma separated file, and we read the information. The headline or the first line is always the header, which gives us the hint texts, and everything below that is our questions and answers. So at the moment, we are taking that from a local CSV file that is here inside of our project, but this is not really scalable. And I also think it would be much easier if users can really write that in a table like we have here. But not everyone has installed this table editor and knows how that works. So the idea is to have the same thing in Google Sheets. So we have these Google spreadsheets, and we want now to read out of that This is the headline, and then down here we will have the hint and the answer to it. And we can have it for Flutter, for example, but we could also have it as an English lesson. So we have a German side and an English side, and all down below that will be the cards that we are visible or will be showing. So how did we start? We created a small basic application, the Flashcard application. I think we need still a name for it. I think Flashetta was a name that were somewhere written below in one of the comments of the live stream. And what we can see is if I click now on this card, which is German, tschüss, I can get the English translation. So English, it's bye. At the moment, it still reads it from here. But now comes the interesting part. We have 3 buttons below. We have one time to decline it, so we didn't know the answer. We have accepted, so that we can accept the answer. Or we can redo, where we start from beginning again. Or we have the possibility of clicking this magic button, which does something completely off, because what we are at the moment do is we are talking with Google Sheets, and this was what we implemented yesterday and where we actually stopped also yesterday. Because what we started is we tried now to introduce the Google Sheets API, and we used for that the Google APIs package. And we implemented that with the different APIs of Google Sheet and Drive, which was not too easy. And we had some understanding problems, and I was sitting here and tried to solve how we can do that in the future and how everything works. Because we have also another goal, or I have another goal. We want to make this folder publicly available to everyone. So if you want to create, for example, your own lesson, so you say, okay, you don't want to learn English or Flutter, but you want to learn engineering, you can now, and I think I'll share that link here. I should add that also down in the video description. I don't have opened the chat now. That's unlucky. Let me quickly do that. I think that is a good thing to have that also here. So, sorry, you see now myself. Up. So, and with this link, you will come to that drive and you can create your own courses, more or less. And the reason we want to do that is we want to take this parent folder structure as the main path, more or less. So this will be the lesson or the thing that we can learn. And if we go inside, we have different lessons. So for example, lesson 1, hello world, lesson 2, thing X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth. And with that, everyone who is able to use Google Spreadsheets and has a browser and internet access will be able to create his own comma-separated files that we can use then in our Flutter project here. Okay. So, and where did we stand? So we managed to get all the credentials we created with Google Developer Google console. We created credentials for the flashcard. So we created a new user that is a service account. And this service account is just there because we don't want to log in with a real user to Google Drive. Everyone who uses the app will always use this user here. So, and this user has also just limited access to the Google Sheets. And that's why we committed the whole keys and stuff into our GitHub project because everyone can use it. But if we check a little bit more, we can also see, okay, we have implemented this little story here with get sheet where we didn't know where we go to. I just wanted to try a little bit around how do we access actually a Google spreadsheet and get the values from it. And yesterday we found something out, and the first thing is we can ask for the values if we ask for the specific spreadsheet ID. And what we also can do is getting these annotations, and this is called A1 annotation, I think. And with that we can select a range of values. And if we check the result that comes here, and if I opened it up with normal startup, let's have it in debug. If I start that up in debug and we check it, we get already a result back. So what is our goal actually? If we go to our repository, Flashcard project, you will also find the link down in the video description. We created issues for each task that we want to solve. And every issue we will work step by step on it. And now we want to connect the Google spreadsheet. At the moment, we want to connect just one and try to use it instead of the CSV file so that we don't need and rely anymore on the CSV files. So the idea would be, and I create here a small to-do list for myself that we want to achieve here. It's a connection to Google Spreadsheet. And I think that one we already solved. The next thing that we want to do is we want to get the values for our cards and headline. What next do we need? Let me think quickly. If we have that, then we need like a navigation system where we select the correct folder and file to ask for values. And I think if we have managed that, this would solve this issue already. So if you have more ideas, please let me know and we will try to fix all of them. Okay, now I did a mistake because I pushed directly an master, which kills our tests, of course, and which was just in general a big mistake. And I talked already in the last sessions a little bit about force push and things like that. So what I will do is I will reset the current branch to here. I can make this soft. So, and with that, we should have all the files still here, but we are one branch push behind. And with that, we will now force push that, unfortunately. Git push force. So that didn't work because it's protected branch. Okay, so let's have a look here in the settings. In the security and no, in branches, we will find this rule here, which I will delete for now. Quickly log in. Fair enough. So, and this is just to keep tree hygiene. So this is not something that you need to do. It's just for me because I was made a mistake. Usually you wouldn't. You need now to ask your coworkers who has the right permissions and things like that. So that's a good thing if you have your own project here. So we implement the feature and this is the first step of the feature. So what I will do is I will create actually a new branch. So with, by the way, I have not the key drawer is the package that I had yesterday. Put that down here. So now you can even see what I'm pressing. So Control V to get to the branches. And here we need to create a new branch, which I call MD Weber, which is my folder structure more or less. And here we call the feature. So in our case, it is the, I will take the issue number. That is issue 4. How do we do that best? Yeah. Issue 4, connect with spreadsheets. First draft of connecting to Google Spreadsheet instead of CSV. So, and with that, the tests can fail because what we will do, we will create then a pull request into main. And this pull request will run our build pipeline and we will see then at the end if this is running green or not. And in the meantime, we can even link the issue here so that we also make some project structure here to make it a bit cleaner. So edit, closes this link here. Fair enough. And you know what? This list of things that we want to do, I think it would make sense to not have that here, but rather to have that in the inside of the pull request, because this is what the pull request should fix at the end. So. Good. As you can see, because we build our build pipeline inside of GitHub with GitHub Actions, it is already directly connected with the merge request. So when this will fail, we will get here the information. We can click to the details to see what parts have been failed. So also that we did already in a previous session where we implemented the build pipeline. And yeah. So. Nice. So next step, let's have a look. So I want to get the real results. We have that now in debug. So let's click this and let's see. We run into the debugger. And what we can do now here is we can check what happens inside. So we get a value range with rows, but it seems there is not much inside. Okay, there is a lot of inside. So we have the values here, and these values are our list of information that we want. If you remember, we have the first one, which is our headline, and then we get our things inside. And the cool thing is, if we check in our Lection 1 here, no, not this one, in this one, we can see it is exactly these values. And what's also interesting, even though that we set till A5, it seems that we still don't get all of them. So it is just taking it until there is some value, real values inside. So what we can do is maybe take this range to an infinite number. Nice. So you can take that as an example. As I said, it's a free and MIT licensed project. So you are more than happy to increase that, improve that, and use that as a basic pipeline or standard for your project. So sure, makes sense. So yeah. Okay. With that in mind, we can now first draft of connecting the spreadsheet instead of CSV. So you can see the tests are failing at the moment. And reason for that is probably that, we've used a print somewhere and our Flutter analyzer is not happy with that. So we could fix that now, but at the moment we want to have that to play a bit around. Okay, so now we can already read the information. But as I said yesterday also is that this part is a so-called, or for me, it is a repository because we receive our data raw from the API and we have a lot of dependencies to the API, which is all not very beautiful, right? So instead of calling this a service, we would like to call that more a repo. So, and also this I would call sheet repository, or sheet repo is enough, I guess. Because with that, we make it a bit clearer for our developer end users that this here, they get some data from somewhere. So let's see, there's search for a sheet service, but this is a Sheets API. So this one is actually completely off because we are not allowed to access the API from somewhere else than not API, Sheets, the repo. It is not allowed for my project to access the repository directly from a screen. So the UI should be always decoupled in my opinion. So this is not a good thing. What we can do and what I want to do, why is this padding red? Isn't a function. So there seems some problems at the moment. Let's have a look. So padding is not a function. Try correcting the name to match the existing function or define package Flutter source basic and sheets for far. Okay, there were some import that destroyed the whole thing. Okay, good to know. So clean that up. Lowercase p. No, I think that was correct because it's a widget, right? We want to have a widget of padding here inside. That was a bit interesting, of course. So this elevation can be gone for now. Oh, it's just smaller, minor things. Okay, but now we access this repo. So we have now multiple options on how to work with services and dependencies. To begin with, and to keep it as simple as possible, I would work with dependencies that are coming from the constructor. So up here, someone who wants to use this homepage need to deliver us the dependency that we want to work with. So if we work with a service, in our case, it would be something in the domain layer that we don't have yet. We want to have something that reads the cards, so flashcard service maybe. .dart. This flashcard service should deliver us the cards as we want it. So it needs to have the information about headers and maybe cards, something like that, that we want to read. So this could be also done with a provider or anything else. It's just, I don't do it with a dependency package. I do it now with pure manual labor work, more or less. So we have flashcard service here. And this flashcard service has a function get header, for example, or get header. Is it a good name? Yeah, something like that. And it will return us a map entry. Map entry from type string. So, and with this headline should return us now the information about the first two elements, like A till B1. And thanks to our methods of the repo, we at the moment get everything here. And what we can do is we can make every request, multiple requests for each data set that we need. So that we say, okay, our first call goes always to receive the headlines here, and then the second call gives us all of them. That would be one option. The other option, and I'm not even sure if we want to have. Yeah, it makes sense, I guess, because better we have two calls. Is there a downside of that? It could take a little bit more time because the requests are taking usually a bit time and we are a bit faster locally, I guess. So that could be a benefit. But then we don't have to order and sort it locally. So I'm just thinking what are the possibilities that we have at the moment. But I think that's okay. We can return this, for example. Or no, we get this result and then we have result.values, I guess. And these values were a list of object. I have to take a quick look on how these values look like again. So press this one again. This, no, that's not it. I want to get the values here. Evaluate expression. He cannot evaluate, okay. Not a good sign. Then let's hot reload quickly. Up. Fair enough. So now we have the results, values. It's a growable list of size 2. So we have all in this values, we have a list with lists inside. So inside of here, we have values is a list of objects, and these objects we know is a string. So we have a list of lists. So if we get the first one, we know we have two elements here inside, German and English. And now the idea is that we create out of this second list a map of map entries. Cool. Okay, so I have to quickly think. Do we want to make one single request or multiple? Because what we could do is have here, I think multiple is easier for now, and then we can still make it a bit cleaner. That takes more time, but I think at the moment the requests shouldn't be a problem and we can then scale it later. So get flashcards, for example, or get. Yeah, flashcards is maybe not a good name. Get data, get. I search for a good name because these infos we call headline, but down here that everything will be our flashcard section more or less, but These are our entries, more or less. So how do you call it? Entries, yeah, why not? Get flashcard entries? No, let's keep flashcard away because it's not an information for the sheet. So get entries we can do. And on the other hand, we have get headline. But get headline is also not good. I have a better idea. We call it get entries and pass in the A1 annotation. So if we check that, we have this range here, which is a string, and this range values will be calculated and formatted, blah, blah, blah. Major dimensions, spread range, the A1 annotation. To retrieve values from, yeah, perfect. So what we can do is passing in here a string of the A1 annotation or range. And this range will be passed here inside. So get entries from range. And then whoever wants to call that receives its values. I think that's a good idea. That means if I come here with get headlines, we can call this method and say, okay, we want always A1 till B1. So that's the range we want to get. I think I have to initialize the sheet repo. So we need a sheet repo equals sheet repo. Import this one. What does you need? A client. Where do we receive the client from? I think we did that from the auth dart, right? So I have to think quickly. So we need this client, but who needs access to that client? Should we know about that as a service, or should we pass it in for, so the repo will take care of that in himself? I would say the repo itself is responsible for that client. We don't want to know that it needs one. If it has already one, it's good. If not, then it's not okay. And here we pass in the client and then we receive the API. So I know that this sheet repo is responsible or needs access to this out client that we have. So this out repository here. And to make the naming correct, we also should rename this. Call this an out repo. So, and now this sheet repo is dependent on the out repo. So out repo. Let's take that. And I think we can even initialize it immediately. So we have here an out repo. Then this one is also not late anymore. So, and because we have access to that out repo, we will now have to have in the constructor a method like init sheet repo, something like that. And the idea is to have that thing asynchronous. And because we cannot have a constructor that is asynchronous, we would put all these things inside here, because what we need is that our out repo that we have receives now his client. So we have here the final client. And this client will be passed here inside. Why is that red at the moment? Let's close the debugger quickly. The argument type future client. Okay, so this is a future, so we need to wait for that, of course. Make it asynchronous. Okay, so now we have the Sheets API ready. And the Drive API will come later, but we can also initialize that the same way. So we have the Drive API and we pass in the Drive API with the client. Good. So all of that is now a future. And the reason we need that is we have a future of void initialize or init. Fair enough. And why do we need that? We need to say init equals to. So you are complaining at the moment. Non-null must be initialized. So this one can be null at the first beginning, or better, it's late. And all of our services like this one will now await for this init method. So that being said, we are now sure that as soon as this init method has been run through, these information exist. So we are able to access the Sheets API then. Is this an asynchronous function here? No, it's just a constructor. Fantastic. Okay, so now the responsibility of having or creating the registered HTTP client does not rely anymore on the services that needs the Sheet repo, but on the Sheet repo itself. I think that makes sense and makes the thing a bit more cleaner. Good. I'm just thinking if I forgot something, but I think that should work. So now our service should be able to not use the Sheet repo. It should reuse the Sheet repo, but it doesn't have to pass anymore the Sheet, the client inside, because the client is not important anymore. And with that, we can now access the Sheet repo and ask for the entries at the range. And this get headline, why is it red? The body might complete normally, causing null to be returned. Ah, yeah, of course. So we receive here the entries. Probably this is a list of objects, right? We learned that. So a list of object was the name, I think, is our entry list. And this one is now a list of object, but we don't want to have a list of object. But what we can do is we can use the map from iterable again, and then pass inside the entry list. And if we have that, what we want to return is the very first element. So return, we take the whole thing, and then we take the entries dot first. So now it will complain because it can be null, I guess. So instead of doing that, we put it here inside. And the question is, what kind of map do we have here? It's map of string to string. Good. So this will be our final headline map. And this is what we return. Values, no entries. First. Good. So our flashcard service has access to the repo, gets this information. The repo takes the out repo to connect somehow and takes the Sheet repo to inform himself how to get the information. So now the homepage service or the homepage UI will get now information on how to read with this service. And one option is that we just directly do it here and say, okay, this is the homepage is dependent on this service and we create it each time, which would make sense and is, I think, fine for now if we keep it easy. And then later we can change that to a provider package or something else, because there we can directly use these services the same way nearly. Or even can work with get it. I think that would be also an option. So what does say our thing here? Get entries from Sheet repo. Okay, so this doesn't work anymore. We don't need the client here anymore. So what we would need in this icon button is actually we need some kind of service. So I think about what kind of flashcard service. Dot. I think we have to import that one. Create one, and then here inside we need access not to the Sheet repo. And by the way, this is maybe a thing, we should make this private so nobody else has access to this Sheet repo from outside. And now here inside we want to get the headline. So fair enough. So we get the headline, we make these calls. This one is even asynchronous, so we probably have to await here. So this makes this part asynchronous. And another thing is we want to have the return type here. So we get the values, and I think we have to pass in what we return. And this was a list of objects. And of course a future. Oops. Okay, but now it complains because it doesn't return anything. But what we can say is we return the result.values. Values. And I think, this is now a list of objects because we have maybe multiple rows inside of that. So if I take now first, it's perfect for our headline, but it will be a problem for everything else in the future. So first is maybe not a good idea. Else what we can say is that this returns all values and we return here a list of objects. I think that will be fine. A list of can't be returned from a method because it has a return type of future list object. Value of type list object. It can be null, these values here. So okay, so this could be null, so we have to also pass that down. So if we don't get any values back, it's null, of course. So with that we save it here, and this one is now reddish because we don't receive a list of objects, but a list of objects. So still red. And it can be null, true. So, and from here on, we should now make sure that here cannot be anything else than null. So if the entry list is null, then we want to throw, I don't know, unsupported error, like the entry list are null, something like that. Good. From now on, we know that something is in that entry list and we can use it now exactly correctly, like we want to. And we are good to go. Any downside of this method at the moment? We have this headline, we iterate over it. Yeah, so that's good, I think. So what we can try now is if everything works correctly and we get our first headline via this method. And inside of this here, we want to change our headline. Maybe we can do that as a next step if we know that this was successful. So we final test equals print our test. So clean it up. Taking a look into our application and see if this works. Hi, peace. Just say. Always let me know if I'm doing something completely off the limits or if I did something that is not really understandable. Okay, so we got an error. It's not subtype of string of key. So there were an issue, but we got an instance of future map entry string. So we probably forgot somewhere to await. We go into here. We await for the init. We await for the sheet's values. Difficult to say where this happens now. We printed the value. Instance of future map entry string. Okay, so inside of here we seem to get the information that we need. But then unhandled exception, list of object is not subtype string of. Nice. Hey, peace and enjoy your meal. So list of object is not subtype of string of key. Okay, so this comes from our iterable, I'm pretty sure. So of course we get here a future of something because we don't await here. So that's of course important. So hot restart, taking a look, click here. Now we are crashing directly. Okay, cool. And the reason is, if we go here on the left side, you will see in the debugger the called stack trace. So we can go down the elements where this issue came from. And if we take a look and go one step higher and higher, we sooner or later come to the get headline method. And it seems that this method here breaks. And the reason is we get an entry list. And this entry list is, if you know, a list of objects. And what it tries is it tries to get now this list of lists into a string to string. And this is of course not possible. What we can try is just say first. And if we take just the first one, it is another list inside where we have 0 and 1. If you have followed this stream already since the first day, we had the same idea on how to work with CSVs. So we have a list inside of a list, if you remember. And if we would do that still the same, now we would have the option where we can really easily access CSV again. But we decided to have these map entries at one point, and I still think it's a good idea because it's perfect for our use case, and we have to take a little bit a look into. And as we see, the map entry comes, but we get German to German. So close, but not completely correct. And also there we have already somewhere a solution for it. If we take a look into the CSV reader that we once created, we already talked about how we can access these map entries correctly. And I think we did that somewhere with these keys, and we did that with the put if absent in a new map. Okay, but that tells us that our problem lives here somewhere. So let's click once more here and let's check what we get. So headline map is German to German and English to English. But what we actually want is German to English. So one side is the value and the other side is the other thing. Sadly, it seems that an entry list creates it somehow differently. So we get now each element as an own map element. So the map entry looks then more like key value is German, which doesn't help us at all. Can we change that somehow? So from iterable, we have that. And if we say we create our map ourselves, can we do that? I think so. So if we create this map, we have here, no, how would we create a map? Is there not a method on that from, let's kill that for now. From map dynamic. Okay, this is another map. From entries would be this one. And this would be a map of other map. Okay, but what we can do is maybe create our own map here. String. And now we have to set up the things ourselves. So we know that this entry list just contains one list where we have the first element and the second element. And one of them should be the key and one of them the value. So we could do something like that. And with that, we have also our map entry. So we can even reduce that further by just creating a map entry out of that. So can we map entry with string, and this is a map entry. And here we can pass in the key and the value. So why does it complain? Let's click the debugger again. So this one is type object, of course. So the problem is that he don't know which type is inside of it. So we have to cast it in this case. Reason is this entry list thinks it's an object. So it's a list of objects. Can we try to do that in an elegant way? So one option would be that we say, okay, we take this here and we put it into an own variable. And we could say, okay, this is now a list of string. And now this complains and we have to say, okay, you are a list of string. Believe me, I know it. I know it better than you, compiler. And with that, we have said that. Could lead to issues. At the moment, it should work, I think. So we get this. We have this first two, which sounds weird. Like this is our first entry. And here we don't return anymore the first entry map. We just return directly this map. If we know that, we can even shorten that by returning this. Good. Slowly, it's getting cleaner. So I hope that was all clear. If you have questions, always let me know, right? So back to that, we click on hello, we click on the button. Let's see where we come. Okay, we get our crow. It's not subtype. Aha. Type list object is not subtype of list string in typecast. So he does not allow this typecast here. That's unfortunate because I'm absolutely sure that this is true. Oh, on the other side, we have entry list first. Which is this one? Sad. Ah, but what I can do is I can map it. So instead of casting it, which seems not to work, we have to map it maybe. So I take that first element and say dot map, and inside of this method, no, not this map, this function map, where we get an object E, let's call it O, and we want to return O.toString. And last but not least, we have to make two lists. So, of course, O is not the best name for that, but we can also call it element or whatever. But it's just clear that this is an object. I think we don't even need that. Yeah, and keep it in one line, I guess. Good. And hopefully this toString works as I expected, because then we will get our list of strings. Ah, it's great to have you all here. Okay, so we have that. We click on the button, we debug, and let's see what we get. We get a map entry with German and English. So this is of course not a translation, but it's perfect for our headline. Because if we use that now, if we go to our home page at the moment, we shouldn't take this into consideration. So if I change it, for example, and go here and say this will be Spanish and Portuguese, and save that, and we are coming to our app and we reload, then you can see the headline stays the same at the moment. But we get this from questions, answers, header with value and key. So if we pass inside here, now this information. So that would mean whenever we come here down and we say, okay, perfect piece, great that this works. So it's from Harris Heller, I think. He creates Stream Beats, which is free music to use in streams. I really like that. So we get now this headline, I call it test, and we pass it here inside. And if I now make set state with it, and yeah, we can also do this line here, something like that. then we should get now the new value inside of the tab here. So I click it and Portuguese, here we are. So great stuff, that works. So that means we have now connected the first time our Google Sheets with our application, which I find very interesting. That is really a cool thing. Sorry, but you have to fix something on the microphone. Hey, great stuff, Vachtjos. I'm very happy that you like the streams because I like them too. I have a lot of fun here. So this is our headline. Good. Now we don't want to have that by pressing of a button, so we will have to call that stuff probably at the beginning of our stream. And I think we had this start lesson button. You're most welcome. It's good that you know both, I can tell you that, because nowadays VS Code is everywhere, so that helps you too. But VS Android Studio is just my favorite in general. Just my long-term work, and also for customers, it was always better to use VS Code, to use IntelliJ at the end. But there is like a religion war, right? So you have to be careful. Good. So now we have that. We have this flashcard service. And that being said, we have now our get headline. But now we need also a future where we get a map of type string string. And this one is get flashcards. If you ask now why I use flashcards here as a name, this is the flashcard service. So he is allowed to know this pattern of flashcard. But maybe flashcard is not even the best name. Let's call it get questions and answers. And this map consists out of string string, but it is actually a question and an answer. And is there not something like a type alias in Dart since new versions? Type alias? I think there was something. Dart. 2.13. Type aliases, exactly, with type def. So what I can do actually is I could create type def. How does it work? Michael Thompson, please tell me. Here we go. We say integer is int, so we don't do that. But what I can do is I can say, hey, we have a question. This is a string. And we have type def an answer, which is also a string. It looks promising, so why does it not work? Try updating your pubspec to YAML to set the SDK constraints to 214 or higher. Let's do that. So you are telling me I need to increase that to 214. Happy now? Upget. Looks good. Besides of that, it's still complaining. But with that, we have now these type defs, and that is actually a cool thing because now I can say, hey, this is a question and you are an answer. And yes, both of them are, of course, still strings. Ignore that for now. Both of them are technically still strings, which is fine. But for me, they are questions and answers. So we had this discussion yesterday, I think, that I didn't know which one is which, you know, that these are the questions and these are the answers. And now we can also do that same thing with hint. And I think the other part would be solution or something. And we can then change that in this map entry that we return. So we return hint and solution. So not sure how the app will behave with that stuff, but that's pretty awesome actually to make it more readable. How the consumers were using it is now interesting. So if I go to get headline, you're still happy that this is a string, right? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So even though that he don't know what a question and answer is, he still allows it. So that's also very important for me. Good. Then we have that. Guest questions and answers. Exactly. So that will work nearly the same. So we have the list of object with question mark, which is the entry list. And we await our sheet repo dot get entries from range. And now here we can say we start at A2 and go to B, I don't know, let's go to 1000, then it doesn't take too much time, I guess. And if we have something that has more like 1000 entries, then I think we are anyway off the charts. Then our app was a real success. Okay, so we have that. Now we don't return anything, so return null quickly. And with that, we get now our entries here. And what do we have to do? We can ask again, if this is null, then we return unsupported. No entries found. I think that is not even true. It could be empty. Then we have a different error, right? So this is, there are no questions or nor answers. Answers. Good. And if there is one, then we want now to get all the entries below that. So beforehand, we mapped all the lists that we received. What do we have to do this time? I mean, we have to map it again, I guess. Is there a faster way to do it? Works. And as you see, we just return a future. But if I press Command P, for example, doesn't help out also. How does it look if I remove that and press get headline? Then as you see, get headline is still returning us string to string, even though that we know that this is actually a hint and a solution. So for the IntelliJ, it's completely obvious that he just takes what it needs. But for us here as a provider of this method, we can call it whatever we want. Of course, we can also reuse that, I guess. And I think it's just because IntelliJ is not smart enough yet to understand that Dart has this type def possibilities. If this comes in the future, probably we will have here also questions and answers. But I like your idea actually to maybe increase that with a string. But yeah, I think I like the idea most because then it is clear and we know exactly what we receive here. String. Cool. So good point. Okay, taking a sip of water. My coffee is empty. Okay, now that we know that, we have still to map that somehow. And we need to create a map now with all the questions that we received. That could be a lot, right? So how can we easily achieve that? We want to get 2 strings and so we have the entry list, which is a list of lists. And we know that these entry lists will be for each. Yep. And this element is now again a list of object, right? And here we have our 2 entries that we want to have in our list. So if we create our map string to string, and let's take these here to stay consistent. Test. We just create a small map. And now we want to test.put if absent, I think was the name. So the key would be now element1 to string. And then we put the version element1 to string. And if we remember, I think that comes close to the method that we had beforehand. And this gives us the test, and this is our new map. Questions and answers. Okay. So we have this, we create this map, we go through each element, and I think that is really exactly the same thing like we did here at the end. We split it, we trimmed maybe again, the split comes from the row split. So I think that comes very close to it. We can even take some of the information, I think, like if and so on. So if this is there and this is the split. So that's pretty cool. To string, I think we should also trim it here. So we remove the white spaces in front and after. And now with that, we are coming closer. Let's see what our IDE is telling us. So, and the good thing is we have now implemented a lot of logic, but the bad thing is we have not one unit test, which drives me nuts. And I think my coworker, if he looks that, hey, then he will now get in shock state because no tests are written. So hello, oh, my monitor got, here we go. So, and now we are begin Portuguese, but with this, we don't use it either. So what we want to do is get questions and answers. And if we go to the home page, okay, let's do it first here, but we can also integrate that now directly, question and answers. And we use this method from the flashcard service, which we of course just create once. And call that. We get our list, and now we can just print that one just to see if we really get all the questions and answers that we want. So reloading, let's make a hot restart just because we updated this state methods and sometimes it doesn't take it. And we receive a future of map string string, which is pretty good. If we await for that, we are even better, I guess. Hallo, hello, auto, car, Fahrrad, bicycle. If we take a look into our spreadsheet, this is exactly the down elements. And as you see, we also get only these. So if it is empty, it doesn't care. And the good thing is also I can do something like that, EO. So if it is somewhere below, I think it will read that too. So I click once more and let's have a look. Oh, there is an issue. Valid value range is empty 0. Okay, not sure where this comes from now. So good that I tested that directly because it led to errors. So where does it come from? From here. And we have the entry list. Okay, but this time it has empty entries. So I have to take care of that. So if element 0 is empty, then we have to jump over it somehow. We have a for loop. Can we continue? I'm not even sure if this is possible in Dart. So if element, what is element? Element is the length equals to 0, then continue. Oh, it works. Great stuff. Okay, so if you never have used continue in a for loop, what happens is if there is now no element inside, it will jump over that element. This makes sense. So hot restart quickly. I hope this was, at least I knew continue like that, or we have to do something else, but I think continue should work. Start lang continue. Yes, indeed. So let's see how it behaves. Is continue the right word or not? It was perfect. So with that, we skipped out everything where the element is empty. And of course, now we can also introduce our passive programming where we say, hey, if this is not 2 in length, then we throw also. So if the element is not only this, but there is maybe one where the element has a length that is unequal to 2, that we also want to throw, because it's not allowed. So we don't want to be able to have more than 3. We could also just skip it and take only the first 2, but I think it makes it very hard to understand what to fix. You know, if I know that the CSV or the array contains now multiple columns, then with this I get at least a hint as a developer. Maybe also not the best solution, but I think for yet it's okay. So, and can we test that? Of course. We can implement here another one, T. And if we go to our app and load them up, hopefully we receive nothing. Unequals to 2, the CSV. Hot restart maybe? No, he's happy. Why is he happy? I really thought that would work. We have the entry list and one of them is, oh no, it's also 2. Ah, of course it's only 2. I don't have to make this check. Makes no sense because we do already that with this B annotation. We only allow to take A to B. So like these 2 things. We don't even care about C. It doesn't exist. So with that we are even better on it. But what we could still keep it. The reason is it could be that we have 1 less. So we forgot somewhere 1. That being said, if I remove the O here, for example, and save, and we click on the flashcard. Shortly hot reload. I'm in a breakpoint. So click and click. Now we get the unsupported error. Great stuff. Okay. So we have that. I think that is already a big success already. And we have managed quite something again. So now I don't want to have that by button click, right? Button click doesn't make sense. And I think it makes no sense to have this CSV reader anymore because we now take it. I will delete the CSV reader though, because the CSV reader can be an option that we say, hey, you are not only allowed to take the files from the Google Cloud, but you also can create your CSVs locally and we work with them exactly the same way. Not sure if we want to support that in the future, but if you want to have it, down in the video description there is the GitHub repository and you can create an issue for that. Okay, let's have a look. Besides of that, now that we want to have that reading from the other service, now I can remove the CSV reader and let's see how the whole application behaves. Because if we will remove it, with F2, you jump to the next error, you can see it is just once used to read the answers list and we get all the information here. But now we can change that because now we can receive the header through a different call and the answers we get from something else. So what we will do, inside of our homepage, we first have to initialize our flashcard service. Yep, final flashcard service. I think flashcard, no, I think it was this service. It's like that, and we can directly initialize it. So we have imported it directly, and now we just replace where we need it. So when we start our lesson, we don't need that file anymore, at least not yet. And now we come to that what I told yesterday, we can do everything in set state, but now we have await functions before that, before we can set the state. So we need to write that in front. So the first thing we want to set is the header, question and answer header. And we pass in our method that we had, the flashcard service, and we will use the get headline. And hopefully all of that should work directly. Okay, but this is a future. Of course, we have to await now. So we add the async function. Okay, and this is the header. Now we want to get the current questions and answers. Current question and answer. Okay, so we need the answer, the question and answer list. I think that we did with the CSV reader so far. And now we get this as entries to list. Okay, so flashcard service. Oops. Flashcard service. Get questions and answers, which is a map. Now we can receive the entries. No? Oh, it's asynchronous. Okay. We have to wait again for it. Put it up here. So, and now we have to wait first for this map here before we receive the entries. So you are a map of string. And from here, we want to get the entries as a list. So we have set that, Inside of here, we remove the header. We don't need that anymore because we get the header specifically while this. We can shuffle still the question and answers list because we want to have the questions in a different order. And the current questions and answers can, we need of course still to get the current question that we have. And the card flip and all cards finished stays the same. So from there, we can remove the whole icon button down here that we used as our placeholder. And if we hot restart the whole app, now we should get our information completely from the spreadsheet that we have here currently. And with that, we can even share to or even collaborate on this project, because if you are now changing something here, and I guess you have the full access rights, then you will automatically help me by developing this stuff. So question has not been initialized. Okay, so we try to access that somewhere, but we have no allowance to do so yet. And this is happening here. So the reason is we need now, this one is asynchronous, this one is in its state, but we cannot be sure that this is already run through, and we have to show a loading indicator until we see that this is done. So, and how can we do so? We need a future builder for that. And a future builder will, using this future here, which will run then until it is finished, we will wait for the information that comes from it. Is that correct? Will it have data? Hard to tell. Not that we have to return something, maybe. Could be. So it tries to access here on these. This is of course there. All cards finished is one of the elements. And it's false at the beginning. Ah, is it? We could just say this is true. And say, okay, as long as you... Aha, that worked. Okay, cool. That is maybe a smart hack here. But at the beginning, we will see now the text. And after some seconds, we will get the cards. So let me quickly click through all of them. Now we see this. If I restart, we get all the infos again. Okay. Let me quickly think what we have done now. So we accessed the spreadsheet. We get it from one single spreadsheet at the moment. So we don't have a choice in that direction. It's not very beautiful that we show the all cards finished, but what we would need is like initialized or loaded. Questions loaded, which would be false at the beginning. And we would not do it with the all cards finished, and then we would have something like all cards finished or questions loaded. And this is also, so there will be a bit more to do, and we can do that in the next step. But for now, I think for our merge request that we created, I think that's already pretty handy. So we get our data. We ask now Spanish and Portuguese, which makes also no sense. So let's fix that too. German and English. Safe to drive. Perfect. I think you also have writing access, or no, you have only view access. That's not good. So change that to editor. Copy the link. Done. That's inside of the whole Flashcard app. So everyone who has this link is allowed to edit. Done. So, and where can we share it? Here. And what I will do is I will also add this link inside of the video description. So. Copy link, done. And let's see if I get it to the video description up here. All right, enjoy the work as good as you can. Peace. Cool. But with that, we have now these two things. And I think for our merge request, let me quickly check. We have done already a lot again without committing often enough. So that's always a bad thing. So let's have a look what we actually did. So we created a flashcard service. We enhanced our version of pubspec.yaml. I think that is maybe the first thing that I have to say. So dependencies upgraded to Dart 2.14 for type definitions. Okay. So then we renamed the auth repo. I think that's just a small cleanup. The auth repo for consistency reasons. Good. We renamed the sheet repo and enhanced it by the getEntries method. So this is more feature. Renamed the service, the repo for consistency, and implemented the first method for getting entries. So then we have the flashcard service, and this is also a feature which allows us now to receive the headlines and receive the headline and the questions and answers from the Google spreadsheets. And last but not least, here we replaced the CSV service with our with the spreadsheet service. Okay, so we can push that. We stay on our branch, right? So if I go now to our pull request, we will see that our tests are failing. And this will be the next thing we will take care of. So tests and analysis. So first of all, let's go to the terminal and let's search for Flutter Analyze. And let's see if we have some forgotten print or anything. No, that looks good. And Flutter test. Do we have a test that is currently failing? No, all are passing. But of course, we were a bit, easy with the tests at the moment. We didn't really care about that. So what we maybe can do now is writing at least 1 or 2 tests for this headline here, and also for our get questions and answers. For that, we will probably use Mockito to mock this sheet repository up here. And we will have to also change a little bit on how we use dependency injection. Reason for that is, if I go now to our test subject, we will quickly understand why this is necessary. So we create our flashcard service test. .dart. And inside of here we have our main.dart, which is of course void main I don't have that as a quick, as a main? Ah, perfect. Cool. And then I have group? No, not yet. Okay, so let's create some live templates, because that is always annoying. Templates, if you have to write that all the time. So inside of Flutter and Dart, we can see there are these live templates in IntelliJ. And what I need is actually a group and something that creates me a test. But if I check that, I think none of this exists. And if I go to Flutter, is there something with group? No, 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 no. So unfortunately not. So then we go to Dart, and inside of Dart we say, okay, we want a new live template, and we call it group. Write group. Yeah, write group tests quickly. So what we want to have is a group, and here inside comes a string. That is the description, right? And then we have this method. So, zack. And in this group, we will have here some definition in a second. So we define also the language, it's Dart. And here we now have to pass in a parameter, which is our description. And if we go to edit variable, we could also give that now a default value. But in general, this is just 2 strings, which can be this removed here. And that's it. So with that, we apply that. And if I go here now and press Command J and ask for group, we find that error easily. And as you see, we jump now also directly to that place where description is inside. So I can pass in a description. But it has a downside at the moment. If I write, this is not a string. So what we have to do once more, go to the group and make this a string again. Description. And $, and apply. Good. So that's that. And what we can also create is a test. Test or test. I don't know. Difficult to explain. So there is a test inside. We have a description. We have a method. And here we have again our description. So we define our language, which is the Dart, apply. And what we also could do is creating a group with tests. So for example, if we have the group, there is usually never the reason group with test. There's usually never a place where we have a group where we don't have a test inside. So we could also do something like that. And even if you want to do more, you can even write now something like the group test, and you can have widget tests and things like that, and can create your things as you need them. So this is our group description. I think we don't even have to description. And this is our test description. Oh no. Okay, but you got the idea. I removed it now. I'm too lazy to write it again, so keep it here, and just that you know that this is possible. So we have the description, and what we want to do is the subject name is Flashcard service, okay, and we have to import the Flutter test library. And inside of here we want to have a test, which is when then. So okay, we finished that, cool. So inside of this group we can now define our subject, and you know that I usually use the name subject for the thing that is under test. So final subject, and here is our flashcard service. So this is the thing that I want to test. Okay, and now here inside we want to say subject.getHeadline should return us something. So the problem, or here the problem starts actually, because inside of this getHeadline we have now the first time a dependency to a third service. And that would mean we now have to write the whole sheet repo or rely on the real sheet repo, which then really return us the information that we need. But what happens if we want to test this one? Then we need to create a CSV file in Sheets to see if it works. And not only is that not practical, but it's also not really helpful. So what we would need is we create a constructor and a constructor-based dependency injection. For that, we create a constructor here in the Flashcard service and say, okay, here exists a sheet, this.sheet repo. Maybe is this possible? I think it is not allowed then to be private, right? It is. Ah, perfect. So we say this is from type sheet repo. Good. And we can make it final. It's also fair. So, and with that, we know exactly there should be this value inside. Now we can pass that from somewhere, and then we can say, for example, with a tool like Mockito, hey, when we call this class with this method, then please return whatever we want to return. And for that, we have made this now dependency injected. Only downside, our screen now needs to have some more logic and more knowledge, because here we cannot just say, hey, here's a flashcard service. We also have to initialize the sheet repo for him and have to pass that in. So, but if we did that, now everything is still green, and this works now exactly the same. The only difference is we can now pass here our thing inside. So if we want to create something similar to a sheet repo, like let's create a mock class mock sheet repo, and we would say we extend that by sheet repo, then we will have access to all the methods, and I think we can implement, and then we can have all the override methods that we want, and then we could do whatever we need with this sheet repo. And also what we could do is, if we extend that here, then we can also just say, hey, we don't use a sheet repo, we use our own one that we have created. So, but the downside is at the moment I would need to overwrite everything with my pure hands, and I'm pretty lazy, as you know. So we will not do that necessarily. So for that, we will use a tool like Mockito. If we go to pub.dev and search for Mockito, we get also our framework. So Mockito is a beast. If you have never worked with mocks and you don't, or you have some problems, then I highly recommend check a little bit of mocks, because this is really a huge topic with a lot of different things. But what you can do with mocks is, for example, you can verify that a method has been called inside of the method that you test. So there are two strings, one thing that you want to test, what you want to execute, and some things that you don't want to really execute. You want to just stop it. You want to just make him believe that there is a service behind of it. Okay, how does that work? Well, let's say we have a cat class, and this we want to mock with this generated mocks thing, works that. And now we can say, okay, we create this cat and pass it into. And this is how we would like to do it with our test here. And then I can say something like cat.verify. So we can call first the method, the real method, and then we can say verify that this has been called. I hope that was understandable. It's a bit more to it, and I hope my explanation was not too bad. But let's see how it looks like in action. So we go to our terminal, install quickly Mockito. And let's check the pubspec.yaml, because I guess that we have to implement more than this. So we have Mockito, but I think we need also the build runner, if I saw that correctly. So readme. Mockito 5 supports Dart's new null safety language feature, primarily with code generation. To use Mockito's generated mock class, add build runner dependency in your package pubspec.yaml under dev dependencies. Okay, so we need the build runner for that. They recommend now the 1.11 version, but I would like to first take a look on if this is actually the newest one. And here we see at the moment it's 2.1.2. So now I'm not completely sure if this is, yeah, I think we can use that package, shouldn't be a problem. Let's see and test it, and if it doesn't work, we can still swap. Okay, we got the package, we pub.get. And let's see how pub.get is happy. So that means this version Mockito allows us to work with this dependency because it will use it probably as a peer dependency. Okay, so but how does that work? We have now the cat mock start library and the mock cat class. Okay, now I'm curious how this works. So let's head over, first commit our change that we added the new package. So dependency. And here inside, we will have now our main, and inside of our main, as far as I see that, we have to do something like this. Honestly, I've never worked with the newest version of Mockito, so it could be that we have to find some things that we have to underlie on. So, and we need a sheet repo. Now I'm curious how this works. So I pass that in. So, and now we have to probably call the build runner by annotating a library element such as test file mains function or a class with generated mocks. You are directing Mockito's code generating to write a mock class for each real class listed in a new library. The next step is to run build runner in order to generate this new library. We'll generate a file with the name based off the containing annotation. Okay. The generated mock class mockcat extends Mockito's mock class and implements the cat class, giving us a class which supports dubbing and verifying. Okay, great stuff. So we have that, and now we want to build runner. So we have multiple possibilities. We could remember always the code snippet that we have to run for build runner. But I'm pretty sure there is also a package for that. So build Flutter package pub run build runner build. So this exists. So install it. And with this buttons, we receive, I think, somewhere buttons. Is it this? Kill Flutter? No. Build runner build. Yeah. Build runner rebuild. Build runner watch. Okay, so let's build it just. Flutter path not known. Where's the Flutter? Please choose your Flutter. Maybe it's path. What? Okay, so there seems. It asked me to specify a Flutter path. Ah, yeah, okay. Fair enough. So this is cache. This is Flutter. Let's take this one. Could not run build. Cannot run in directory / permission denied. Probably I have to set up. Okay, it's too much, but I will have a look how to do it the next time, and then we can see how it works. But with that, if we run now this command, we run now the build runner, and it uses the build runner to create a class, a mock class out of thin air, more or less. So he understands that he needs to create a mock, and then we should get a new file here and getting it imported here. So let's see how that works. So it takes some time. I hear that build runner can take up to a lot of time. So always make sure that it is necessary to use a lot of this. So, and now I'm really curious, how did it work now? Do we get now the mock sheet repo? And I can import it. So it exists somewhere in the Flash service mock start. Is there something where this lives? If I go here, no. So it needed to be generated. So I'm pretty sure it lives somewhere. Aha, here. So where's the path to that? It's in test domain. So yeah, here it is. So this one will be not added. So I will put all the mocks inside of our git ignore file, because whoever wants to run these tests can run the build runner on his local machine. So it is not necessarily to upload generated files into GitLab or GitHub. So we will add everything that starts with mocks.dart. So, and it's getting gray with that. And the only reason is that it is not part of the push anymore. The only downside of that is, of course, that we have to, in our GitHub actions, to build and generate these mocks with the Flutter build generator. Not sure if this is possible, but probably we have to do it. Okay, so now we can use this mock sheet repo. And if we call now get headline with this entry list, we want to call this method. And now we can stub our information. And how does that work? We can use this method. When this method was called, then return something else. Good. Okay, so that means if I call the mock sheet repo dot, I think we have to use the same repo. Let me see, mock sheet repo is a mock sheet repo. So, and we use, of course, the same one. And now I say when the mock sheet repo dot this method has been called, getting a range, any string, I guess, should be possible. We will do that. But let's say A1 to B2, no, to B1, I think. Then return. It's a call, okay, so then, why is when not exist? I have to import Mockito. So, and if we do that, then return something. And what we want to return, we can say we want to get null, for example, or an empty list, I think. So if we just return an empty list, we will get errors here. It expects T. A list dynamic can't be assigned to list of object and a future. Okay. Then return a future of list expected, then answer. I have to create a new async thing at the moment. I have to think quickly, sorry. We have then return and then answer. I know that one of the both was better for asynchronous calls. So then return. Expected is future, then return should not be used to return a future. Instead use then answer. Perfect, cool. So then answer. Real invocation, and we return null. That's not good. So we return a list. So, and he complains that there is no list inside. It's a list of dynamic. And it can be null. And I think we can make this async, and that is the idea. Yeah, perfect. Good. So, and because we do that now, and we go into the headline service, then we can see if this entry list is null, then we would throw. So what we will do is now we don't return at all anything, we just return null, which is allowed. And if I let this test now run, because of this invocation with null, it will work inside. Add a stub for this method using when API or generate the mock. No stub was found with matches the argument of the method call. Missing stub error. Okay, maybe I did something wrong or I have to rerun the build. Let's see. So we interact. So we have that mock back, and is this method now existent? Yes. Future list of blah blah blah. Okay. So let's see. Missing stub error. No stub was found which matches the arguments of the call. Add a stub for the method using Mojitos when API or generate the mock. Add a stub method when API or generate the mock for null on missing stub. Is this get headline? Of course, the values are different. So maybe it's just because of that. That would be best. The entries are not. Yeah, perfect. So that worked amazingly. So cool. This method returned us something and we got an error. So we can expect that now, that if we call this method, remember we did that the last time. So if we call this method and it throws an error, we have this anonymous function. And now we can call throws unsupported operation or error. The entries are null. And I think I have to say throws and then we have that. And we can here just say unsupported error. Yeah. Go. So the closure of future which through the unsupported error. Get headline. Okay. Expected throws type unsupported error. That is what happened. Is this an async function? Yes, it is. So maybe we have to wait for it. No. Why is that not working yet? So probably because it's asynchronous. Actual closure is a future. Which through an unsupported error. Wait. I did all of that once in a while, so it should work. So we get this and we want to throw that. And this one is an async function. Maybe that helps. Okay. Dart test async function throws error. Try await catch E expected. Aha, in the catch block. Ah, okay. That is possible. Okay. Expect impl throws exception after when complete. Whoa. The other solution is to put the check on the method when complete. Okay. I think I like the try catch part. That looks actually quite smart. So we can try to call this method here. Or better, what we can do instead of doing all that is we say this and we want to catch the error because we know an error exists. And then inside of here, we want to expect that this error that we receive is an unsupported error. E is unsupported error. And then we can remove that and that's done. The string message, we can also participate. It's the entries are null. Not the best message, but hey, at least we tested it. So, some problem. Expected and unsupported error, unsupported operations. Expected, they are identical or? Is instant. Aha, okay. Is instance of unsupported error. Is instance of. Also. Good. So to match the matcher. Still a problem. The error handler of future catcher must return a value of the future's type. The error handler of future catch error must return a value of the future's type. Of the future's type. So a map entry of string string. Okay, it seems not to be easier that way, so try this one. We await for it. And then we catch the error. And we expect that E is instance of unsupported error. And this needs to be in the generics. Good, and what we also expect is that e.message. Oh, we don't have a message. Okay, but that's already it. So this time better, or do you expect also something else? No, that's it. So when the entries return null, when the sheet repo returns null, then we throw an error. An error is thrown, or better, an unsupported error. Ah, thank you, Cass. Okay, cool. So that was the mistake. Yeah, but to repro something and then going into the test, it could be ugly. So I don't think that it would be maybe or much better. I think onComplete would be then even a better option. Good, but fair enough. With that, we have our first tests running and we have a group and we tested that this part is invoked at least. So if we run that with the coverage editor, so we can see, hopefully, if we press Command-Shift-T, that we still have some things that we need to test, because at the moment we only run into this part. So you can see we have now these red blocks. This is all stuff we didn't have tested yet. So that really helps you to take care that all your tests are running fine. Or return future error, yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, Cass. That was not, or I was not aware today of that. Good. So with that, the next test would be that we return a real entry or a list of an object. So we can do that by going here inside. And now we have to recreate a test. So Command-J, search for test. When we provide a real entry, then we want to receive a map. The header map entries. So, and you see already what we invoke mostly is now get header, right? So this get headline. So I would recommend to build a group surrounding that just tests the get headline here, and all inside, oh, that was a bit too much. So, and all these tests are just responsible for this get headline here. Okay, if we run them, now we should get 2 okay-ish tests and have them inside, and they are wrapped now in this get headline here. Okay, so when we get real blah blah blah, so what we have to do now is we say when the mock sheet repo get entries from range AB, We can even copy the most of that. If we have the same behavior, the only thing is now we return a list with a list of German and English. So just to test our application, we have this. And this real invocation leads now to, if we call this method, we want to get a result. So final result equals to await subject.get headline. So, and we make this asynchronous. And this result entry contains now a map entry with string to string. So, and now we can expect that this result dot key should be, in our case, German. And we can expect that the value is English. So let's see if this test is running. All green, that's a good sign. So let's once more run the whole thing with our coverage reporter. And now we should see a little bit more green if everything worked well. No, it did not. It seems that the coverage is not getting updated correctly, so that's a bit sad. So probably I have a mistake initialized somewhere. So show coverage data and please all of them. Yeah, 3 minutes ago, show. Not sure why I don't get these infos correctly. Code coverage, activate code coverage view. Show options before applying to the editor. Apply. So try that once more. Command T. Run it with coverage. So replace active suite, add to active suite, do not apply collected coverage. Replace active suite. And if I jump over suite, sorry, it doesn't work, sadly. No, that's not true. It's perfect because we test only the get headline. So we see everything is green on the left side. This one is also tested, and here is tested 3 times. We have this tested 5 times. So this stuff is tested, of course. It's just the method down here that is not tested yet. So it's a complete own method, and that's why we didn't see it. So if we go here, we then create a new group. And this is something we will probably do tomorrow in the next live stream. But with that, we go slowly in the tests. So you can see I was not really test-driven developed today, or yesterday, but we wanted to have a first initial draft that we can use. And now it's time to write the tests, at least. So let's have a quick look what we did. Yeah, we made this this way, and we have implemented tests. So what we can say is, hey, tests started implementing or started with tests to check if the our Flashcard service behaves as expected. Good, we commit that, push that up, and we will have that now in our repository. And what we will see now is that these tests are failing. And this is the last thing that I hopefully can finish today, because what I want to do inside of our workflow that we currently have, we have to pass in that we have to create these Flutter builder. And inside of GitHub workflows, we have this start thing. And here we currently only run pub-get, but what we also have to run is this method that we have for build runners, this one. So let's copy that over. And after we made Flutter pub-get, we have to let the build runner run. Now we added that, so this is like infrastructure. Added build runner to the CI/CD. So with a bit of luck, this one should restart the build, and then we have the new step inside. So I think we can cancel that one. And let's see how our test runs now, if everything works well. Okay, are there any questions in the meantime while this is running? So, anything open that we forgot, that we didn't talk about, some problems that you see? Any recommendations on how to get better? Did you like the video this morning? So, connected to Google Spreadsheets, get the values for cards and headline. That works. Navigation system where we can select the correct folder. That's the next step. So we run the build runner. I'm really curious if this works right away out of the box. Succeeded, okay. Flutter analyze. How about you? Oh, we got the error. Okay. Info, don't override a method to do super method invocation parameters in the mocks.dart unnecessary overrides. Aha. Okay, now it starts that he analyzes the mocks.dart, and this is of course not good. So how do we ignore files like that? So Flutter analyze ignore files. Analyzes options, exclude. Okay, so we will need to add all these into our excluded files. So we have the analyzes options with our linter and rules, and we need the analyzer. Yes, the analyzer here. How to master Flutter documentation by reading it. That helps the most, I think. Best part is you can just directly jump into the code, and important is to take your time, right? If you go to, for example, state, the documentation is pretty good, but as you see, it is extremely verbose. So you get a lot of informations, and take your time, understand one step by step before you go into the next parts. The documentation itself is actually pretty amazing for a framework. The only downside is if you go to the website itself, it's always a bit hard to find the right things inside. So you need to take the time and don't give up to understand everything inside of it. So mocks.dart. So, and I will just try in the terminal, Flutter analyze. Oops, there is a lot of Flutter analyze. Because we have also this mocks file now. Don't override a method, parameters, service. Okay, he ignored my mocks.dart analyzer. Analyzer ignore build. Probably I have to do something like that. Yeah, now it works. Okay, so we excluded all the mocks files that are existent, and with that he is happy. Yeah, let's push that with that name. Not so important. So, but with that we have the build pipeline also running again, up and running, no problems there. And we are ready to go to the next step tomorrow, I guess. Then we can do the next tests and run there everything else. Set up the job, or maybe this evening. I'm not sure if I have 2 live streams today. That depends on my health and if I feel comfortable, you know. You can't imagine how heavy it goes to your language if you talk like 1 hour or 2 hours straight. Jana, good questions. Well, it is of course fine if you start with Flutter, but don't forget that Flutter is a framework. So in your opinion, or in your question, you would more ask, do you should start with Dart? Because Dart and Kotlin are programming languages, while Flutter and, for example, I think Android Jetpack or Jetpack Compose is the name. Jetpack Compose? Yeah, Jetpack Compose is, for example, a framework that works nearly the same like Flutter, but is with Kotlin together. So should you learn it? Well, you should start at least with one of both if you want to. I recommend, of course, Flutter because I like Flutter and I like how the system is working. But in the end, you will need to get an idea of both of them. And then you have to decide which one you prefer. I personally feel very productive with Flutter and Dart. And this is the best thing I can tell you. So whenever I create an app in Flutter and Dart, I have the feeling that the environment system, all the technology, the development environment and things like that help me to improve the code and write fast and clean code wherever I need it. If this is this the best tool for everything? Probably not. But you will have to make the decision and find a community where you feel at home and where you feel happy to be part of. And yeah, for me it was Flutter, but I think you will be also happy with every other technology. So at the end, we have run our analyze, everything is green. Our tests are also successful, perfect. We run our checkout, everything is green, and with that our build pipeline is green again. And we are ready to merge. As you can see, we get now also this all checks passed in our GitHub because of the integration. Can I learn both? Of course you can. Would I recommend it? Not really. Kotlin and Dart are very similar at the end. They are very close together. They are, of course, have their uniquenesses, but programming languages in general have always a very lot in common. So if you are working in JavaScript, Java, Dart, Kotlin, whatever, if you learn one language good, then you are very easy to transfer that knowledge to another language. So if you are very good in Dart, you can very easily learn Java. If you are very good in Kotlin, you can very easily understand how the other languages work. And so don't focus too much on being abroad in programming languages. Try to stick with one as much about it as possible and also about the uniquenesses. And then later you can swap if you want to. So if I can recommend you something to be productive with something, try to stick with one language at the beginning. Good, so the tests are running, this is fine, we have reviews, and that's it for this today. I think we have done that. This one is now also part of the chat descriptions. You're most welcome and enjoy your rest of your day, Jana. Okay, and I think this is a beautiful ending of this live stream with fantastic questions that I could answer. Close that. And now there is up. So I could switch into transmission. That was a perfect series. What we did today was we implemented now Google Spreadsheets inside of our app. We have the possibility to answer the questions, right or wrong. We can restart the application. We get the information. Now the next step is to write some tests that everything is working. And after that, we will go back into the next step where we want to select the folders and file structures of the spreadsheets. And we will work on that tomorrow more. Also, we finished off the GitHub actions again, so we are able to run our build pipeline green again. And I think that is a pretty big success for one day and for 1 2-hour session. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the video description below. We still need a name for the app, so if you have good ideas, always as a comment on these videos. And if you have anything left to say, then now it's the perfect time. Else I would say I have prepared a video today and hope to see you soon again in the live stream or on my videos. Bye everyone!